Hi, this is Abhi Bharti and we are here at DockerCon in San Francisco, and today we have Ben, founder and CEO of Twistlock. So first of all, tell us about why you founded this company. What does Twistlock do?
Well, me and Dima, the other co-founder, at the time we were working in Microsoft of all places, and Microsoft were just starting to go through this transformation. And we were thinking about the transformation of IT and about how every company is becoming a software company, how every company is going through digital transformation. And what we thought is going to be very significant is the way software is going to be produced. And then, and that was like at the end of 2014. And we just realized that the world is going to change and security is going to change as a result of it. And that was sort of a big bet that we wanted to take, and we sort of took a career bet on that, and so far it's working out pretty well, but that's what made us do it.
So what does Twistlock actually do?
So at the end of the day, we're a security company, and we want to give you a promise that if your developers are writing application or workloads, we're basically going to protect them. Now, we can't do it for any workload in the world, but we are doing it with cloud-native workloads, which is actually a lot. And we took a pretty big bet at the time. We said, we're going to assume that people who are evaluating technologies, which are the DevOps people these days, they're not interested in buying 7 different security products like best of breed, as is the case in legacy security. They would be interested in one platform that covers everything. And this was a pretty big bet. People used to laugh at me when I said it. When I went to the Docker team and told them, hey, I'm going to do security for Docker. So they asked me, are you going to do scanning, or are you going to do runtime, or are you going to do compliance? And I told them, we're going to do all of that. And they said, well, it's impossible. No security company covers everything. But we set out to do that. And so far, it's been working pretty well. What we've actually seen over time is that DevOps indeed are interested in getting to a security vendor that basically covers their entire RFP and not, scripting something that will somehow update their WAF, and then something that will update their east-west firewall, and then somehow something that will plug into their CI/CD like a third product. So that was our bet, and this is Twistlock basically, and we're covering everything from CI/CD integration to various things you do for active threat protection.
And you said, when you approach Docker, and there's no company can do all of that. So what kind of customer base do you have? And did you manage to do all of that?
So we only have customers that write software, which is everyone today. We have cruising companies, we have obviously technology companies, we have banks, we have a lot of the federal space, we have a lot of folks in Europe, we have folks in China, we have folks in Australia, we have, it's pretty amazing. I'm actually, the most fun thing about my part being a CEO is that I can actually see the different use cases of how people are writing software today, and it's pretty amazing. Just, like we actually have a company that actually produces physical containers that is actually using virtual containers. So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting use cases.
So the company that makes the actual containers is using virtual containers.
Yes, which is kind of funny.
So how do they secure those containers using the virtual containers?
Maybe they do it the other way around.
I think IoT plays a big role when you are building containers and all those things, shipping containers, everything. IoT plays a big role there, right?
Yes.
That's how they track all the containers.
Yes, absolutely.
Even in the factory floors, they have to ensure security, and IoT plays a big role. And then when you talk about IoT, you talk about containers. Actually, it may be true.
Yes, maybe that's true. Obviously, in IoT scenarios, it's almost like there's these little satellites, and they need to sort of phone home every once in a while. Sometimes they're not always connected, and it's kind of funny. It's also in the actual shipping, like when you have a ship and it has like a data center. That data center sometimes connects home, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes changes the way you do security, because sometimes in security you have a centralized sort of brain that you typically want to be able to connect to all the time, and sometimes you need to delegate some of the responsibilities to sort of the endpoints or the nodes if you're talking about workloads. So it creates a few things you need to take into account when you're creating your architecture. Luckily for us, we had the flexibility or sort of liquidity to actually do some of the logic here, some there, and to actually change it in different scenarios.
So you said that the company was founded in 2014, right? So it's been almost 4 years.
January 2015 is when we officially started.
So it's roughly 3 years or something like that, right? 2.5 years, 3 years.
3.5 years.
3.5 years, yeah. So, but in this, a lot has changed. By now, new technologies, new paradigms. There are so many buzzwords that's impossible to keep a track on that.
That's
and
true.
Some of the new buzzwords that we hear these days is serverless. That is the biggest one.
Yeah.
So what kind of security implication or risks are there in that space?
So for us, it's yet another agile way of, philosophically, what the big change that happened, and then there are multiple technologies that cover it, but the big change is the fact that security and development has to be streamlined from development all the way to production, and the shields that you put in production need to be agile and adapt automatically to whatever is in production. And that means containers, it means serverless, it even means VMs. It's just the way that you use it. Now, for us, from technology point of view, there are some different things you need to do to protect it, because serverless means it's containers and Kubernetes and VMs all have a very good built-in ways of adding third-party monitoring around it. Kubernetes has daemon sets, there's all kind of sidecar models, etc. With when you get to serverless and you want to protect it on the run, you have to slightly change the workload itself, and that presents some kind of technical difficulty for us, or we needed to augment the product to be able to work here and there. But essentially, it's all part of a platform that does the same thing. It whitelists what you're supposed to do at runtime, and then when it sees anomalies, it detects them. You get web application firewalling that needs to automatically adapt to the workload. And obviously, anything that you push into production, you want to make sure that it's hygiene, there's no vulnerabilities, it's compliant, etc. But it's true both for serverless and for containers. And we're seeing more and more companies use serverless and also connect workloads that are based on containers with workloads that actually use serverless.
So you are here at DockerCon, So what has been either the feedback, because some of these companies are your partners, some are your clients, and some are the potential clients, and some of the companies you use their technology. So what has been your kind of
So first of all, it's always nice to connect with customers. We've had a customer come into the booth, for example, and tell us that we sort of saved his job, which was kind of nice. He said that he was using our software, and then he found out that there's like an Ubuntu 12 running in production that they were not aware of, and they had some kind of a component that they realized is connecting to Russia that one of the developers used, and they just saw that because of the product, which was really nice. You always when you see happy customers and you feel like you've done something, it's always nice. Other than that, I think generally in DockerCon this year, one of the key takeaways, at least for me, was that the landscape is sort of consolidating, and it's interesting to see how even Docker speaks in kind of a different language that acknowledges that there's an ecosystem, and the ecosystem is around agile development, and it's about DevOps, and it's not necessarily just about Docker. And Docker is a piece in a bigger puzzle of digital transformation, and I felt that you could quite see it in the keynote, and even looking at how Docker evolves over time for just being a cool thing that has to do with Linux. You see what a big emphasis they're putting on Microsoft, even though Microsoft is a little bit lagging behind, at least from the Windows perspective around containers. It's still part of a bigger thing that's almost like OS agnostic. It's almost technology agnostic. It's about digital transformation,
right.
And that's and even today at the keynote when they were talking about vaporizing it's a big deal, and it's more than just the technology. So that's sort of a personal key takeaway from me from the conference.
Back to the company, how much of your product is open source? How much open source?
So obviously we use tons of open source to implement our software just because we're a modern company. We are contributing to the open source. We have a security research team that found vulnerabilities in Alpine. It found vulnerabilities in some of the libraries that Kubernetes use, and we actually try and focus very much on the security aspect of this whole ecosystem and contribute as much as we can to it. And we've had multiple CVs that we discovered. Obviously, at the time, we contributed to Swarm, we contributed to Docker, and helped create the authorization authentication framework, and obviously some of the secret management elements. But we're not creating an open source security project because honestly, I don't believe in that. I believe that security, at the end of the day, when you buy security, you're not buying a technology, you're buying a smart security research team that sits and protects you at the end of the day through technology. So you could theoretically sort of create a bait and hook people through open source, create some kind of sort of a crippled open source and tell people, oh, but if you actually want security and you want our security team to protect you, you have to buy it. I'm not a big fan of that. I just think I think the traditional model of non-open source in this case makes more sense. And I don't think the security teams are very eager to put development their development energy. Let's say we're talking about an enterprise bank. I don't think he's eager to contribute, the security team to contribute to the open source and then take that back and then have a commercial company sort of use that. Like Redis would make sense because it's developers and developers want to contribute, and then buying something from Redis Lab would make sense. I don't think that with security it traditionally had worked very well, so I'm not betting on that.
So how has been the growth of the company itself?
So we're almost like 90 employees right now. We've had a tremendous success, largely because the space is actually picking up. We had a very good year, and we have now, we can actually say hundreds of customers, which is. I never thought we'd live to see
with an S. With a Z, hundreds, so not just S all the way to Z.
No, but for us, the fact that we started that early and just, scaling out and being able to support all these customers, we have about 20% of the Fortune 100 customers, actually 25% of the Fortune 100, which was amazing for us. I don't know, I'm just a guy from Israel with an idea, and just seeing this materialize is, adventure of a lifetime for me.
Right. So when you're not doing all this security stuff, when you're not doing all this Docker container stuff, what do you do in your free time? You seem to watch a lot of movies, and there's a lot of...
I'm binging TV shows with my wife. And
what are you watching these days?
So we started watching like BBC movies, and then we've seen there's this TV show called The Bridge.
Okay.
It's actually half from Denmark, half from Swedish, and it's about a body that was found exactly on a bridge that between the two countries, and it's actually pretty good. Got a very high score on IMDb.
Have you seen Black Mirror? I'm sure you have already seen it.
No, I'm not seeing Black, because it's so depressing. I mean, there's so many bad things in life.
It's about technology, and it's all about where we are building those technologies.
It's true, but it's so depressing. How could you sleep after that? I've seen this episode with this British Prime Minister and the pig, and I couldn't sleep after that. That was horrible.
I had the best sleep after that.
Really? How could you do that?
Whenever I travel to these events, because mostly it's like 8 or 6 hour flight, so I binge watch all the episodes. So I finished Black Mirror. Before that, I was watching. Of course, Mr. Robot was also a good one. So you're watching Bridge. What else do you do in the free time, if you have any free time?
I don't. Just because I have 2 kids.
You're the CEO, right? Okay, so you have 2 kids.
I'm playing computer games, actually.
What are you playing these days?
So I played The Witcher 3, which I thought was really cool.
Okay.
Now there's Pillars of Destiny. Have you played that one?
I am into open world games.
Okay.
Yeah, so
there's a new one coming, because I like RPG games and fantasy games. Yes, so there's this new one Elder Scrolls.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm playing these days. I'm playing Assassin's Creed Origin.
Oh yeah, okay, but it really consumes the video card, right? I mean,
I have a PlayStation 4, and then I have a Xbox, and I Nintendo Switch also. So like I finished Horizon Dawn Zero, and then I have not killed Ganon yet. I am keeping it alive just for the sake of fun, and also because the buttons on PlayStation versus Nintendo Switch are different, so you lose all the expertise that you built goes away.
Did you play? It's sort of open world, and it's also kind of similar to Assassin's Creed. It's called Mordor, Shadows of Mordor.
I have not played yet. Yeah.
Oh, it's really good. It's amazing. You kill people in much. It's more funny, and it's a pretty good game. And actually, I have the Assassin's Creed now, but it consumes such GPU that I can't play it on the laptop.
Oh no, I don't.
I bought an external GPU for that. Seriously, I have in my office an external GPU, and
just to play that. So when do you do the work? Because you're mostly playing the games, right?
Oh no.
Does your team know that you are actually not?
Forget about the team. What about my wife? Like you know, she thinks I'm working very hard.
Yeah,
so.
Same with my wife. I hope she won't watch this interview, but she. For a very long time, and I'm sure that even she doesn't know that I have Xbox and PlayStation and Switch. Really, she doesn't know. She didn't know for a long time because I work from home, and my office is also my workplace. And I have all those PlayStation VR and all those things, so she has no idea because I have so many gadgets. She has no idea I have games.
But I just hired a really good team, so we have a really good marketing.
All of you just that's why RPG and all those.
Exactly. No, and then I have some time, and then like the entire team, whenever I try to do something, oh Ben, maybe you should just do something else. Don't interrupt. Don't like you.
Yeah.
Let someone else do that.
Yeah. You just go and play your game, okay?
Yeah,
don't disturb us.
Don't talk to customers. Don't install the product. You're doing fine.
Yeah, we're fine. Just go and play the games.
So
they're like, just keep him busy, okay? Don't distract him. Yeah.
So it's sort of a win-win.
Right. And outside games, do you do any other thing? You have the kids. How old are they?
I have a 10-month.
Okay.
I have a 3-year-old, and I have a minus 7-month.
Oh wow! Because I have a 6 and I have a 2, and so this now actually I don't want to say on camera, but the 6-year-old, he's playing Assassin's Creed with me.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and he's on level 13, and he's so happy that and he mastered the game. Yeah. So do you being a technologist? What is your? I mean, your kid is small, but what is your idea about giving them access to technology, or do you want to detach them from technology? Because these days everybody's on iPad and all.
Yeah, I think humans have always evolved through technology, whether it was like modern technology or older technology. We can't quite fight it, and there are trends that are stronger than us in my belief. So I'm letting them use anything that around technology, and there's always, you always have to create
balance.
Yeah, balance, and you have to have some, FaceTime with your kids.
Right.
But I think not letting your kids use iPads and everything is kind of. I understand that it's from good intention. It's a good end result, but it's very hard to do because we live in a world where they want it, and every time you. I actually grew up religious, and every time someone tells you not do something, and then you end up really wanting it, right? So I'm trying not to fight it because I think it's a futile fight.
I agree. Sometimes the only difference happens is that a lot of parents, they think that their kids are being productive and constructive, but they're just consuming content. So it's not about the kids as much as the parents. They are swiping an app on iPad and my kid is a developer. If you want, teach them Scratch or something like that. So because sometimes because these devices are meant for consumption, not like when we grew up with computers, we were like creating stuff. It wasn't.
That's true.
So but you're right also that if we take these technologies away from them, they will become coal miners. They won't have access to, and they won't be even prepared for the world we are moving into.
Yeah, Black Mirror. They'll start going to visit their friends a lot and then play iPad.
Exactly. That's why I gave my son access to all these technologies, so he doesn't have to go outside to find them.
I think you have to give them a strong fundamental education that teach them between right and wrong, and then hopefully they'll
make their own decisions
in the right way. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was awesome meeting you, Ben. We talked about so many fun things, and I love talking to you. I hope you did too.
Thank you. And of course.
We'll catch up again in the next conference, and we'll continue this conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.